Be sure to follow Godzilla Kaiju on Letterboxd. And if you don't, I will slap you with a baguette. Anyways, enjoy the video.
Hello, my fellow kaiju fans. I'm Godzilla Gaiji, and welcome back to the Triple G cast. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special episode, because today we have a Halloween special. Because it's October, baby, and that means spooky season. And by the way, do you guys like the new mask? Yeah, do you like that? I hope you do, because trust me when I say that it was not easy to get a kaiju-sized Halloween mask. I went through a lot of trouble to get this, so I really hope you guys like it. Anyways, today, guys, we are looking at a horror-like kaiju movie, which works pretty well because, you know, it's spooky season, so I had to get something that was a little bit more horror-oriented. And today we're taking a look at The Blob, which is a horror movie featuring a giant monster, so it works out really well. And I mean, at this point I've already looked at the Mysterians, so movies that I cover here doesn't really need to be kaiju movies specifically. If they have a giant monster or like a giant robot or something in them, I'll probably cover them at some points. So yeah. Anyways, guys, today we're looking at The Blob from 1958, the original, not the remake or anything like that, the first one, and I'm really excited for this one. Anyways, guys, before I get into movie info and stuff like that, I do have to say, spoiler warning, if you have not seen this movie, there will be spoilers, so if you care about spoilers, then be sure to just click off the video right now, go and watch the movie, and then come back here. Anyways, for those of you who don't care about spoilers, here we go, starting off with some information about the movie itself. So, The Blob was released in 1958 and is directed by Irvin Shortus Yeworth Jr. The cast includes Steve McQueen, Annetta Corsaut, Earl Rowe, and John Benson in the main roles alongside others. And the movie is 86 minutes long. And now for a quick plot synopsis from Letterboxd. A drive-in favorite, this sci-fi classic follows teenagers Steve and his best girl Jane as they try to protect their hometown from a gelatinous alien life form that engulfs everything it touches. The first to discover the substance and live to tell about it, Steve and Jane witness the blob destroying an elderly man, then it growing to a terrifying size. But no one else has seen the goo, and the policeman Dave refuses to believe the kids without proof. Anyways, guys, with the information out of the way, it's now time for me to talk about what I personally think of The Blob. Now, as usual, I'll go through my 5 bullet points, the story, the characters, the kaiju stuff, the music, and then finally the other things I want to talk about. And so, let's not waste any more time and get into the first point, the story. And well, yeah, this is a classic monster movie plot. It is a monster that comes from outer space and then starts attacking the town, and the townspeople have to find out a way to stop it. It's, well, basically as standard as you can get it. I mean, it falling from space is like a little bit different, I suppose, but I've seen that in other movies as well. But to be fair, this one did come out a pretty long time ago, so, you know, I guess it wasn't super common back then, but it is still very similar to most other monster movies. But that isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, the story works out fine and it's easy to follow, so it's not exactly like the story is bad, it's just kind of been done before. But anyway, it's definitely serviceable. Now, there's one thing that always kind of annoys me in movies like this, and then it's when the side characters don't believe our main characters about something. Now, yeah, obviously it's pretty, ridiculous to think about a giant blob eating people, but I always just find it kind of annoying to just watch characters not be believed by other characters when serious stuff like this is going on. I think that's just a pet peeve of mine, honestly, and I do understand the logic behind the people not believing it, but I don't know, I just kind of wanted to throw that out there. I've never been a huge fan of that plot point, but it does make enough sense. So, I guess I can't be too harsh on it. But that's really all I have for the story. I mean, the story works. Like, it just works. Like, it's fine. It's nothing extraordinary, it's nothing super memorable, but it works. It gets the job done, so I'm fine with it. Now, the next point is the characters, and, well, just like the story, they are completely serviceable. They do what they need to do, and they get the plot going, so I'm fine with it, I suppose. There is a serious lack of character development though, and we only get surface level things told about us about the main characters. Which I guess isn't terrible for a monster movie because, well, to be fair, most kaiju and giant monster movies do that. But, you know, character development and actual interesting characters are something that can elevate a monster movie from being just your average monster movie to one that is actually really memorable. Now the main character is Steve. He is fine, though he looks... I just have to say this, they refer to him and some of the other characters, or I guess his friends, as kids. But this guy is clearly not a kid. I don't know how old Steve McQueen was when he was filming this, but it's kind of like Tobey Maguire in the Spider-Man trilogy, where he doesn't look like the age he's supposed to be. Like, he just looks too old, but that's just a nitpick. It doesn't have anything to do with the character, I just thought it was kind of funny and just want to mention it. Now, Jane, basically our second protagonist, she's very bland. She's not like Steve where he can okay, let's be fair. Steve has some memorable lines and some memorable scenes that I do actually like, I can actually recall. But Jane doesn't. All I remember is that she just really liked the dog. And that's it. That's all I remember. Like, she was just very bland. As for the other characters, I mean, I guess the main character's friends are the only ones who are really worth mentioning here. They were sometimes fun, and I do like that they actually helped out with trying to defeat the Blob at the end. But most of the time I just kind of found them annoying and they just kind of felt like they were there just to squeeze in some funny moments, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but they were just kind of, I don't know, I just found most of the humor surrounding them to not be very funny. So they were kind of annoying, but also kind of had plot relevance, so I can at the very least, admire that. And then the other characters, there's nothing to really say. I mean, the police force were fine, I guess, but really most of the characters here are just okay. I mean, they get the job done, but they're nothing spectacular. And now for the kaiju stuff. And I'm just gonna come out and say it. The Blob itself is horrifying to me. Like, just the way that it attaches itself to that old man and then just consumes him alive, it is terrifying. It is goddamn scary, and the fact that they didn't even find a way to kill it, they could only stop it by freezing it and then sending it to Antarctica. They couldn't even kill this thing. That is terrifying. I don't think a movie could make jelly scary to me, but this movie did, so I guess it is possible. I don't want to eat any jelly, at least for 2 months now. I am terrified of it. So yeah, overall, I think the Blob itself was really well handled. I mean, the design itself is it's just a blob. It's as simplistic as it gets, but still, I think the Blob itself was pretty well executed. However, the scenes with the Blob were a bit disappointing in my opinion. For one, I would have liked to see more of them, because for a lot of this movie the Blob isn't in it, which isn't a huge shock because it is a giant monster movie, but I would have still liked to see more scenes with it, and also I wish it did a bit more interesting stuff during those scenes. It would mostly just killed 1 or 2 people, mostly just off screen. It would have the entire scene leading up to the kill, but then it wouldn't show us the kill itself. That was just kind of annoying, and I just wish the scenes were a bit more memorable, because the Blob itself is very memorable to me, but the scenes themselves, no, yeah, kind of, but I don't really remember much of what happened in the scenes. I can only tell you where they took place, so yeah. The scenes itself with the Blob was kind of disappointing, but the Blob itself, in my opinion, was pretty well handled. Oh, and one final thing. The Blob killed a dog. Yeah, there is a dog in this movie, I just mentioned it with Jane. And the Blob kills it. What? Why? If there wasn't no more reason for me to already be terrified of this thing and it kills the dog, why? Why? That was so unnecessary. But anyways, I just wanted to mention that. It was just kind of a what the hell moment. Anyways, moving on, we have my 4th point, which is the music. And this is gonna be a pretty short one. It was fine. It was serviceable. The music during the intense scenes were actually decently stressful, so those were probably my favorite parts of music, but other than that, it was just there. It was fine. Nothing too memorable, but it did its job, so I'm okay with it. And now, finally, for the other things I want to talk about, there's only really one thing worth mentioning here, and that's the script, because I haven't talked about that yet. And honestly, the script was fine, like most of the things in this movie. It was just completely fine, though it did have a couple of funny moments here and there. So I'll give it that much. It did make me chuckle a couple of times, but for the most part, it was just your standard monster movie script with a little bit of exposition here and there, and I mean, yeah, it was just kind of... It was fine. I really can't say much about most of the things in this movie. Most of the things in this movie are just okay. So I guess we'll just move on to the conclusion now. So overall, The Blob from 1958 is a fun enough classic monster film. However, it's nothing outstanding, and it's probably not one that I'll want to rewatch anytime soon. It's okay for what it is, and pretty good for the time, but you can definitely do better than it. I also would have liked it if this movie felt more like a Blob movie, with just more scenes for the Blob, and more memorable scenes for that matter as well. I really think that could have enhanced it, as well as some more fleshed out characters, you know? If the movie had these two things, I think it would actually be pretty great. So yeah, overall, The Blob, 1958, is fine. Is completely fine. And I will give it a 6 out of 10. It's a fun enough movie that I recommend you watch maybe once or twice even, but that's really about it. And yes, I know there is a sequel and a remake, and I will watch those one day, but I'm not doing those as the next videos, because I have another video planned for October, and then early in November I'm bringing back another episode of the Triple G cast, but I'm starting something a little bit different with it. So be sure to stay tuned for that. But yeah, I will probably one day get around to both the sequel and the remake. Maybe. Hopefully. Anyways, that's it for the video, guys. Don't really have much more to say here, so if you liked it, be sure to give it a like. And if you want to, or if you have seen the movie, or you just want to say something, then please be sure to leave a comment down in the comment section below. Also, if you haven't already and you're enjoying my videos, then be sure to subscribe and hit that bell for notification every time I upload a new video. Anyways guys, that should do it for this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye!